Today, I'm going to share with you the number one thing I tell riders struggling with fear, what I say to encourage a rider struggling with confidence in the saddle. Perhaps you've had an injury, you've had a setback, you're really working through something.
Welcome to the Resilient Reiner, the premier podcast focused on mental performance for equestrians and improved horse show performance. Whether you're a rookie reiner or a seasoned competitor, this show is for riders who want to take their skills to the next level and achieve their full potential in the show ring. I'm Nicole Burnett, and I'm a master mindset coach who's obsessed with helping you achieve all those horse dreams you always thought were impossible. Join me each week to develop a show-ready mindset and gain the competitive edge you need to compete with confidence.
Welcome. I'm your host, Nicole Burnett, and I am so honored and grateful to welcome you back to another episode of the Resilient Reiner podcast. Today, I'm going to share with you the number one thing I tell riders struggling with fear, what I say to encourage a rider struggling with confidence in the saddle. Perhaps you've had an injury, you've had a setback, you're really working through something. If you were curious, it is not just show folks who work with me. I am a mental coach for riders, which means that you don't send your horse to me to get trained, and I'm not going to teach you saddle techniques, but I work with riders on the mental side of riding, training, competing. Like when you get all the stuff in your brain that messes you up to do what you need to do. So it's not just show folks who work with me, and I do coach competitive reiners, barrel racers, cow horse folks. But that's not all there is to the horse world, is it? There are a lot of folks who are struggling with fear, who feel embarrassed about feeling fearful, feeling anxious. They may have been in the horse world for decades. I've literally worked with people who've been around horses for decades and something comes up for them when that fear gremlin can just come a knockin'. So let me just imagine something a little different if you've ever felt that way. Imagine that you can't wait to see your horse. Imagine that you practically skip to their pen and your horse greets you at the gate. Imagine you hold out the halter and your horse just dips their nose in, eager to work with you. You lead them back. You groom them. You're carefully currying all their muscles and brushing till the shine comes out in their coat. You can confidently tack up and just swing up into the saddle. You take off and feel peaceful as you get to walk, jog, lope around. Your heart swells with satisfaction as you finish your ride and you unsaddle. You go to pat your horse on their neck and scratch their mane. Your horse nuzzles into you and you just sigh out. You're pleased with the bond that you have with your horse and the progress that you made today. You can't stop smiling as you head home for the rest of your day. This is the dream. We want to feel happy and safe and connected with our horse, and it's totally possible. But if this isn't you yet, that's okay. I've worked with folks whose, their heart started pounding when they went out onto their porch and they literally couldn't even handle haltering their horse. And folks who couldn't even imagine loping. They were just paralyzed by guilt and shame. And I share this so that people know they're not alone. And I will never, ever shame any of my clients. I am always so proud of them for being so brave and courageous to tackle their fear head on. And if your feelings come from an injury, it's so normal to be shaken up after an injury, especially when it comes to riding. You are so not alone in this, and there's absolutely no shame in needing a bit of a confidence boost. And I get a lot of messages about this, and I wanted to share the number one thing that I share with people, with folks who reach out for help when they have fear around working with their horse. So first and foremost, I recognize the courage that it takes to even think about getting back in the saddle. That is a huge step in itself. You are brave to do that. And that bravery is a really powerful foundation to build on. Okay, so what do I tell everybody? What's this number one thing I tell everyone who's struggling with fear in horses? And I say, start small and celebrate every win. Seriously, start small. No, smaller. Whatever you're thinking, even smaller than that. If you don't feel at least a little bit embarrassed by how small the step is, it's not small enough. So what does this look like in action? It means, for example, on day 1, you pick up your horse's halter. That's it. That's literally it. Day 2, you walk out to the gate. Day 3, you open the gate and you step inside. Step inside the pen, step inside their stall, just step inside. Day 4, you walk up to your horse. Day 5, you halter your horse. Day 6, you walk to the grooming area. Day 7, you brush your horse. So we're a week in and you haven't even saddled up. You haven't done any groundwork. We definitely haven't been riding yet. And I really wanted to talk about this because I get so much pushback when I propose a schedule like this to folks and they say it's too slow. How am I ever going to get riding if I'm not even attempting to get in the saddle after a week? The thing is, with this slow and steady schedule, you can be up and confidently riding within a month. The real question is, if you don't take baby steps, where are you going to be at the end of that month? The time is going to pass anyway. It is, much to my chagrin as an adult, time is ruthless. It will pass. And if you don't take those baby steps that you think are beneath you, you're going to be stuck at that gate. You're going to be paralyzed by fear. You're going to be overcome with shame and guilt. Or you can take those embarrassingly small baby steps and be proud of the crazy progress that you've made in a month, where you're doing more with your horse in that month than you've done in years. Literally years. Calmly and confidently mounting up and enjoying yourself with your horse. And time again, I see this same pattern where someone is fearful and I coach them to start taking itty bitty action steps and they think it's too small to make a difference. And so they push back. They just don't think it'll matter. And then they take a leap. When they take a leap of faith, they are shocked at the incredible progress that they make. So let's go real deep on this for a minute. Why would we take 1 centimeter steps forward? Why would we do that? Why not push yourself out of your comfort zone? That's a real trendy phrase, right? Push yourself out of your comfort zone. But people seem to think that pushing yourself out of your comfort zone means really big, really grand, like massive steps. The thing is, when something is familiar to you, even if it's unhealthy, right? It can feel really comfy, very cozy, very comfortable. And when something is unfamiliar, it can feel really uncomfortable to us, even though it is good and healthy. It can feel really uncomfortable just because we're not familiar with it. So let's say your horse is the same, but you fell off and now you're afraid to mount up. You're afraid to ride faster, even though nothing bad is happening in the moment that you're existing in. The growth happens when we learn to choose, when you learn to choose differently and learning to choose what can be best for you and learning to try something different, even if in the moment it doesn't feel like the choice you really want to make. This is the work in that it can be really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It doesn't always mean, when you can't walk out to your horse's pen and halter them without your heart racing, that doesn't mean just forcing yourself in the saddle on day one. It can literally mean walking out to the pen and then walking back inside. Understanding what working on your edge means is really important to develop that discernment and to have encouragement as well, where a lot of people feel like that is too small to matter. It doesn't matter. That is where the work is. It's learning to have that discernment of where is your edge? Where is that growth happening where you're choosing to make a different choice than you've made every day for the last, years potentially. And when you make each movement forward, just 1 centimeter forward at a time, you make it a little bit easier to make a different choice. Instead of being scared and overwhelmed at mounting up, you make it so small that it's practically comfortable instead of uncomfortable, so that you can't help but have success. Success is inevitable, right? You make it so easy on yourself. How can you make it easy on yourself to make forward progress, to be successful? You don't have to ride around and win the race today. You just have to brush your horse. You can handle that, right? Of course you can. And even if it is a little uncomfortable, it's not too uncomfortable. So you think maybe, just maybe you'll give it a try. And it is hard, but this is the work. This is the work to choose growth, to choose you, to choose something different. And don't pressure yourself to get back to where you were immediately, right? If you've had a setback and now you're struggling with fear, a lack of confidence. A lot of people, they just want to close the gap in one day. You don't have to. If the goal is to close the gap, just work on closing the gap and start with small, manageable goals. So maybe it's just spending time grooming your horse. Maybe it's sitting in the saddle at a standstill. Every small step forward is a victory. So celebrate it. And if you like this, I know I do get a lot of, like I said, I have a pretty diverse clientele of people who are both high-end competitors and people who are like, I'm scared to get on my horse. So there's just a lot of people who are dealing with mental things when it comes to horses and riding all across the spectrum. So if this topic is interesting and you're interested in me talking more and creating more content around handling fear as a rider, let me know. Send me a message. I always love to hear what you guys are working through and dealing with so that I can have the most impactful content for you. And you've got this. Definitely, I thought a note of encouragement of you've got this. Your strength and resilience will guide you through. And before you know it, you're going to be back to enjoying your rides with the confidence and joy that brought you to the saddle, brought you to horses in the first place. So keep believing in yourself and take it one step at a time. Happy trails. If this is your jam, I'd love to invite you to join us inside Resilient Rainer Academy, which is your step-by-step Lego manual, can't mess it up guide to building confidence in the saddle, to building your unshakable confidence in the saddle. I stand behind my work so strongly that I offer a money-back guarantee. It will work for you, and I would love to have you join us, have you come work with us. On Wednesday of this week, we have our monthly coaching call, office hours. You get to ask me all your questions one-on-one. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to do the topic is confidence kickstart to just get you some quick wins, get you rolling. I'd love to have you join us. Come join the fun.